Okay, go right ahead.
All right. Thank you all for coming. Appreciate you turning out. You got a couple emails about this, so this is an opportunity for you to learn about the bar companies that our students most often work with, BarBri, Kaplan, and Themis. Each bar company is going to make a 15-minute presentation. We'll save time at the end of everything for questions, so if you have any questions, make a note of them, and we'll come back to them. We'll just try to save 15 minutes at the end of the overall presentation. So this is going to last about an hour. Please do not ask the bar companies comparative questions. You don't ask BarBri to compare themselves to Themis, Kaplan, to BarBri, that sort of thing. We're really trying to keep the focus squarely on each bar company, what they can offer you, and just solely focusing on them. This is intended to be an informational opportunity, obviously a neutral presentation so that you can learn about the bar companies. All right, so thank you so much for coming. And they're going to go in alphabetical order, so BarBri will be first, Kaplan will be second, and Themis will be third. All right, so thanks.
Hi, everyone. Thanks so much for coming out. I know time is valuable when you're in law school. My name is Karen Hunley, and I am the Vice President over the Southeast region of BarBri. So I've been doing this for quite some time. As I travel throughout schools in the Southeast, one of the biggest questions I get asked is, what makes BarBri different? Why should I take BarBri? Well, and I'm sure you've heard from some of our student reps some of the most common answers. Experience. We've been around for over 45 years. We're in all 50 states. Our faculty members, we have some of the most well-known, most engaging faculty members from across the country. They actually make preparing for the bar exam fun, which is kind of hard to do. And then the quality of our materials exceeds almost any other company. And those are all true answers, but what I consider to be the biggest difference with BarBri is active legal learning, and that's a process that engages you as a learner. It builds your knowledge and deepens your understanding of the law, and that's the framework within which our bar review course works. Active legal learning is composed of 3 different components. You have your, Activate component, which is where you prepare to start learning. You start building your knowledge. Second component of active legal learning is the Educate component, and that's where the knowledge is actually transmitted to you, basically in the classroom setting. And then the Perform component, and this is where you get the opportunity to test yourself. You get the opportunity to see if you've actually learned the material well enough to take and pass the bar exam. So you have 3 different components with one result. You learn faster and you retain longer, and who wouldn't want that for the bar exam? So what we're going to do is walk through each of those components, and I'll let you know what BarBri has within those components to prepare you for the bar exam. The first component is the Activate component, and the core of that component is BarBri AMP. And AMP stands for Accelerated Memory and Performance. It is truly a revolutionary new training tool, which is going to help you learn faster and retain longer. BarBri AMP is built on Nobel Prize-winning research in cognitive psychology and neurobiology, which is basically the science of how we learn and retain information. There are 22 triggers to long-term memory, and BarBri AMP uses all of those 22 triggers. Also woven into the program is some gaming technology. I know I have 3 boys, 2 are teenagers, and they're addicted to games like Xbox, PSP, kind of things like that. And you'll know if you've ever played any of those games is that those things are addictive. Well, the same technology and research that goes into making those games is woven into the technology we use for BarBri AMP. It makes you more engaged as a learner. Let's take a look at what the BarBri AMP question looks like. And anybody taking the winter bar is working through these questions right now. This is what you're going to do to get ready to learn in the BarBri course. If you notice on this side of the screen, you have what looks like a typical multiple choice question. You have a hypo, some facts, a call of a question, and 4 picks. That's basically where the similarities end between any other multiple choice type software and BarBri AMP. Any of you guys that have taken a multiple choice exam in school, or if you've taken the MPRE, know that when you first start practicing multiple choice questions, what do you usually do? You're usually able to narrow down your selections to 2 picks, right? It's pretty easy to narrow it down to 2, but then picking between the 2 is the difficult part. Well, you're using BarBri AMP to prepare to start learning, so at this point, you're going to narrow it down to 2 picks. BarBri AMP is the only multiple choice software we know of that allows you to pick 2 picks instead of just 1. Let's look and see what happens when we select 2 answers. It requires that we just don't click on a choice, but we click, drag, and drop. The reason why we're clicking, dragging, and dropping is because brain science tells us that when you engage more senses, more than one sense, while you're studying or learning, you learn more you're more engaged in that learning process. So we require that you not only click on an answer, but that you use multiple senses in bringing that answer over. Once I've clicked, dragged, and dropped into the box that says I'm partially sure, I click on Submit Answer. Color-coded, yellow means I'm partially correct. It's kind of like a stoplight. Red would be bad, yellow's like, kind of okay, and green would be you got it totally right. Well, it's letting me know that one of my selections is correct. However, here's some of that gaming technology, is that it tells me I'm correct, but at this point in the game, it's not going to let me know which pick is correct. It makes me keep going, and eventually I'll find out. It piques my curiosity. I click on Next Answer. Here we're presented with another question. I'm going to now select 1 pick instead of 2. If I click on the 1 pick, again, I click, drag, and drop. Notice that I'm not just putting into a box that says this is the correct answer. I'm putting it into a box that says I am sure. Back to that brain science. Brain science tells us that when we identify an object or we select a pick, the frontal lobe of our brain makes that decision. When you're asked, are you sure about something? That's an emotional decision, not an identification decision. A different part of your brain makes that decision. When you engage 2 different parts of your brain while you're learning, you create long-term memory more quickly and more effectively. That's what BarBri AMP is doing for you. I click on Submit Answer, and ooh, red is bad. I got it wrong. So what have we identified here? We have identified a rule of law that we were confident about, we were sure about, but we're wrong at. How many times have you guys practiced multiple choice questions? And if you don't know an answer, what do? You guess. And you guess, and if you get it right, you give yourself a pat on the back. You say, hey, I must have known this. You fool yourself into thinking that you actually knew what that answer was for the right reasons. BarBri AMP will save you from guessing your way through the bar exam. It saves you from yourself. It will identify for you areas of law that you are confident about and wrong about, the worst possible situation you can be in, and remedy those problems early on before you get to the bar exam. Once I get through a handful of questions, I get to this progress screen, and it will lay out for me how many questions I got correct, how many I'm confident I'm wrong about, so exactly where I stand. And here's where the learning component to BarBri AMP comes in. After I get to that progress screen, I've gone through about 6 to 8 questions, it leads me to a learning section. And it brings me back through the questions I had just done, and it presents me with the call of the question, the correct answer, and my answer right under it. So you can see how far off you were in answering that question. If I want to learn more, I click on the arrow, and it presents me with a flashcard type screen that lays out the correct answer and then the rule of law in detail. So I can now start learning and memorizing the rules. If I still don't understand it, I can click on the arrow again, and it leads me to the exact portion of the BarBri outline that discusses that point of law. So I'm going deeper and deeper into the law. BarBri AMP is giving me the law exactly what I need, exactly when I need it. It's more directed, precise learning. Once I've gone through each question, I then am looped back into doing some more questions to learn more about different areas of law. I'm going to show you what happens when I get something right. Here I'm going to select an answer. I click and drag once again over to I am sure. Click Submit Answer, and color-coded again, green is good. I got it right. I was confident about it and right. Once I get an answer confident and right 2 times in a row, an avatar will pop up and tell me I've mastered that point of law. If I want to see where my progress is, I click on this pie chart up there. And for my visual learners, you'll get to see where you stand in looping through and learning all of these rules. So it's very visual, and it leads you through step by step. As you near closer to the bar exam, or through the BarBri course, you can go to a review screen, and it will list for you all of the questions and points of law you've learned through the tool. And you can see your answer history, and again, it's color-coded, so you'll see what areas of law you had difficulty learning. If you want, you can click on a question. It will expand. You can see the call of the question, and then again, you can loop back to those flashcards to help review the areas you've initially had problems with. If you want, you could also click through the BarBri outline as well. So everybody's experience through the BarBri AMP tool will be different because everybody's going to have difficulty learning different areas of law. So it really is personalized learning. What do we know about BarBri AMP? Well, we know that it significantly reduces study time. It's been shown to reduce study time in memorizing rules of law by somewhere between 50 and 75%. It's also been shown to drastically increase knowledge retention. So you can have faith is what you're learning early on in the game, you won't forget about a few months down the road when you're sitting for the bar exam. So we talked about active legal learning having 3 components. That just is what you do prior to getting to class. You're getting ready to learn. There's still 2 more components left. We're going to go into the educate component, which is the second component in active legal learning. And this is where you're really going to deepen your understanding of the law and rules, and you're really going to be engaged as a learner. Throughout the whole active legal learning process, you will be guided by BarBri's exclusive PACE program, interactive PACE program. This is the tool that you'll log into online. You can print it off if you want, and it will tell you exactly what you'll need to be doing before class, during class, and after class. If you miss things, it'll bring you back to them. It'll show where you stand in your progression through the course. It also helps you fit in time when you should be relaxing so that you don't burn out early on in the game. Remember, you have to peak on the bar exam. The interactive PACE program will allow you to peak when you need to peak. You can also go through this tool to access lectures, to submit essays for essay grading, as well as to do questions online. So this is kind of like a one-stop shop, and you're going to be seeing a lot of this during the BarBri course. I want to touch back upon what I had mentioned earlier, our faculty. These are the people who are going to be teaching you the law, transmitting that knowledge. BarBri has some of the most amazing faculty members across the country. They are experts in engaging you as a learner through the bar review process. They actually, if you can believe it, make learning fun. They'll tell jokes, they'll sing. Some of them tell dirty jokes, but I swear you'll remember what they tell you about during the bar exam. They make it fun, and you're engaged. They're not only great lecturers, but what they do for you is kind of lay it out, and they engage you while you're sitting listening to them. And they do that by using the BarBri lecture handout book, which is this thing right here. And that's an example of what a lecture handout looks like. When you're sitting through bar prep, you want to take down as many notes as you can, but you don't want to be scribbling endlessly so you're not absorbing what the professor's talking about, because you want to pay attention. But if we just gave you a transcript of the lecture, you wouldn't be engaged as a learner, and you'd be drifting off, half of you would. So we've perfected the BarBri lecture handout over the past 80 bar exams, and we found that perfect balance between keeping you engaged, having you write in key phrases or terms which we want you to remember, but then we've also listed down a lot of explanations of the law. And if you notice, a lot of our lecture handouts also have flow charts for visual or kinesthetic learners to keep up with the program. Oh my goodness. All right, I got 1 minute left. I got a lot to do. So you can take BarBri classes in class, online, or on our mobile device. Really quick, perform component is where we're walking you through questions. We have total performance let's see, for state portion of the exam and multi-state. For state portion, we have unlimited essay grading, tons of practice essay questions. For multi-state, we have more than 2,000 practice multiple choice questions. Our Study Smart software will list for you, break down how well you're doing in each topic and subtopic. It will also compare you to the vast majority of students across the country taking the bar exam. If you don't know, the MBE is scaled, and you're compared to everyone else in the country taking the bar exam. Because BarBri prepares the vast majority of students for the bar exam, we're the only course that can give you exactly where you sit on that curve, as opposed to just telling you you need to hit 63% or so forth. Visual tools will help guide you, make sure that you're keeping up with timing, 1.8 minutes per question. Again, 3 components: activate, educate, and perform. 1 result: learn faster, retain longer, pass the bar the first time. If anybody's worried about your financial ability to take BarBri, we understand the economy is bad, and so we do have programs to help you take the course you want to take. If you want to take BarBri, we will find a way for you to take us. We have matching grants, tuition assistance scholarships, public interest scholarships, and student leader scholarships. If you have any questions, come talk to me. I have a lot more to tell you guys about when it comes to how we offer our class. Thanks. Sorry.
Give us just a minute or so.
Let me just stand back here then.
Well, no. I can help you. It's not.
Is it okay if I close out of this, Karen?
What?
Is it okay if I close out of this?
Yep, I'm good.
It's a wireless mouse, yeah. You probably just want to run it on your
I love technology. My name is Corinne Simon. I am Regional Director for Kaplan Bar Review. I've been doing this for 4 years. It's a pleasure and a privilege to be here today, and I appreciate Dean Twitty setting this up. Rather than giving you an actual presentation, or PowerPoint presentation, I just figured we'd go and log on and check out our course. Let's see if we can make this bigger. Can we find where we just were? All right, does somebody know how to pull up the other screen that just went away?
Are you just at the bottom of the screen?
I pulled it up again, but let's see. What is we? I was trying to make the screen bigger. All right. So, who's here is a 1L? No 1L. All 3 Ls.
2 Ls.
2 Ls and 3 Ls. Where are you planning to take the bar? Just randomly. Virginia? Virginia? Did I hear California? Okay. Georgia. Michigan. North Carolina. All right. One thing you need to remember is that North Carolina has the earliest bar exam application date. It is the first Tuesday in January. Do not be one of those students that misses that, because I always have some each year. Well, regardless of which state you're taking, right, your bar exam is going to be split up into a few parts. You're going to have your MBE, at least in all states but Louisiana. That's going to be your multiple choice, 200 questions. It's your second day of the bar exam. In Virginia, you have 60% of your passing score is based on state-specific law, 9 essays, 10 short answer questions. In Virginia, New York, California, Virginia's got 26 state-specific subjects that you need to know, plus your 6 MBE subjects, and your distinctions to those 6 MBE subjects. So I think we can all agree that there's an immense amount of information to learn in a really short amount of time. So the question is how are you going to proceed through that information? The law is the law. Nobody owns it, right? All bar courses have access to that same law. The question is, which course is going to meet you where you are as a student and get you to where you need to be on the bar exam? And there are a few main differences about Kaplan that provides students a more efficient and effective study process. The first thing I'll say is, just like most courses, there's an in-class or an on-demand option. Everybody's going to have access to their syllabus in our on-demand materials. However, students that attend our in-class courses this year will be able to view live streaming lectures. So what that means is that any student who enrolls in an in-class course with us this summer, for example, in Virginia, our live lectures will be taking place in Arlington, but you are going to be streamed in real time, those live lectures, into your actual classroom. Now, you'll still have 24/7 access to all of your lectures online in case you miss a day, but you're going to get that added benefit of watching up-to-date live lectures where the professors really are able to interact with you more. You'll also have the ability to submit questions. Every single room will have an associate and attorney present who will be filtering questions to the proctors and associate attorneys in Arlington, for example, or Manhattan for New York. And they will address those questions with the professor during break, and the professor will then answer those questions after the break. Now, what if you don't have all of your questions answered? If yours is not the one they're able to address, it's not a problem. You still have 24/7 access to our Ask an Expert service. But I get ahead of myself some. This is your homepage. This is essentially just giving you a snapshot of how you are progressing through your course. One of the first and biggest differences between Kaplan is our ability to tailor your syllabus to help you address your strengths and weaknesses. So, for example, we're looking at suretyship here. In the morning, you're going to watch your lecture. In the afternoon, you're going to do some review work. And after you've finished that subject, you're then going to take what we call a checkpoint quiz. Those checkpoint quizzes are previously tested essay questions that we've broken down into multiple choice, right, of those most frequently tested areas. And then based on how you perform on those checkpoint quizzes, we're then going to give you specific activities in that evening portion of your course that's going to help you master those areas of law that we've identified you being a little bit weaker in. Now, I'm looking at a student's course that actually finished, so the tasks that you can see in the evening are not quite as specific as they can get, but let's just pull up something random here. So you can see this student, after she took her North Carolina partnership, really struggled with limited liability, but did really well with limited partnerships. No additional activities that we're going to recommend for partnerships, but certainly additional activities that we're going to recommend for other areas. When we tell you to rewatch, a certain portion of the lecture, we're going to take you directly to that portion of the lecture. Did it just go away? Let's try that one more time. Sorry, guys. See if it happens this time. We do offer our students 1.5 speed. I do not recommend you watch your lectures on 1.5 speed, but we do offer it. One of the things you don't have to worry about either are chapter breaks. You'll always know where you can stop. And we do have 30-second rewind if you need it. As you go through, and we help you identify what your strengths and weaknesses specifically are, your study plan will, in priority order, continue to repopulate your evening activities so that each day you're focusing on those bigger and bigger big-ticket items. Essay grading, 60% of your passing score in Virginia. I believe 40 to 50% in California. I think 40 to 50% in New York. State-specific essay is a huge portion of passing the bar exam. Only Kaplan provides you with literally every single essay that has ever been tested on your state's bar exam for the past 22 years. We put them in an essay bank online, and we give you full, unlimited, no caveats, no disclaimers, access. You can choose to review and print off-model answers. You can choose to choose it by actual topic or the actual date that it was tested on the bar exam. And then you can also choose to write and submit your own feedback. So we're going to pull up, anybody have a preference? Evidence, real property?
Evidence.
Let's do it. Meets the standard or exceeds?
Your call.
Let's do meets. All right. So on the right side here, you can see the student's answer that she actually submitted. Here, we can embed comments. My understanding is that's where most courses end. With us, we're going to go and tell you why this is the meets the standard essay. Our essay graders are former Board of Bar Examiner graders in your state, or they're academic attorneys licensed in your state that have then been certified by Kaplan to grade in your state. One of the most important things that I can tell any person looking at the bar exam is organization is key. As a former Board of Bar Examiner grader for Florida, I was billing 60 to 70 hours working at Holland and Knight. I was given 650 essays that I needed to grade in about 2.5 weeks. And I spent a good minute and a half deciding the fate of these poor little Florida JDs, attorneys-to-be, right? What it means then is you've got to make sure that your essay answer is catering, is geared towards the rubric that those Board of Bar Examiner graders are using, that you're making it as easy as possible for them to give you as many points as possible. And the way you do that is going to be IRAC, CRAC, ARAC, depending on your state. So the first thing we do is we outline for you, did you address every issue? Did you fully state each rule? You can see here she had a full, in North Carolina, it's a conclusion. She only had a partial rule. Let's be efficient and effective. You don't have to go fumbling through your outlines. Just run your mouse over it. You've got the full rule statement there. Kaplan also offers you digital outlines. So all you have to do is control find, right? And then you've got all however many elements there are to adverse possession, which has been quite a while since I've looked at. And of course, you still get a massive set of books, right, that are starred out rules of law, that are frequently tested, that are giving you roadmaps for my visual learners. We then go and tell you all the things you did well, things that you could improve on. And then generally not quite as important for my Washington and Lee students, but if your essay answer isn't organized well, if I can't understand it, if it's written poorly. So we do address skills and tell you how you're doing. And then if there are any additional comments that our grader wants to tell you, she has the ability there too. You have unlimited access to this. We guarantee your feedback will be back within 3 to 5 days. In the first half of your course, it's usually 24 hours. Towards the second half of your course, when students are turning in 4, 5, 6 essays a day, you can run up to the 3 to 5 day guarantee. Now, MBE, which is 40% of your passing score in Virginia. Kaplan's been the demonstrated expert in MBE for over 35 years. Of course, we have all the same tracking technology. However, we also have the ability to break down your state-specific, your MBE subjects into subtopics, right? We always want to make sure that you're working most efficiently and effectively. We, too, have our own flashcard app. One of the things that's great about this is that it covers not just MBE law, but state-specific law. 60% of your passing score in Virginia is state-specific law. Kaplan's the only course that gives you MBE and state-specific law. You can see that our available flashcards, when you go to the ones that haven't been used, for North Carolina is $23.96. In Virginia, it's over $3,500 because there's so many state-specific subjects. Who here took a practice exam before they took the actual LSAT? Anybody? Yeah, I took like 10. Kaplan is the only course that gives you a full simulated bar exam. And when I say full simulated bar exam, I don't mean just MBE. I mean state-specific. You're going to go through 9 essays, 10 short answer questions. Then you're going to go through your full MBE. In Virginia, it's 2 days. My poor California folks, you got a 3-day full simulated exam waiting for you. We then give it back to you graded with feedback within 3 to 5 days, right? So you're going to have sat for the bar exam before the bar exam. And then we're going to look comprehensively at how you've performed over the entire summer. And we're going to weigh that with what we know is most heavily tested in your state. And we're going to prescribe a personalized final study plan for you. You can choose 4, 6, 8 hours. I generally recommend students choose 8 hours. If you choose 4 hours or 8 hours, the first 4 hours are the same, right? Because we're always going to prioritize for you in terms of the most important assignments to least important. With Kaplan, as soon as you enroll, you have early access to your course, so you get access to the first 6 days of your course that you can get started at any time, your MBE QBank and your MBE diagnostic exam. I don't know if we just died out on. The two last things I'll tell you. I think every course is likely going to give you a sense of how often something was tested, right? Which subjects were previously tested. We don't have add-ons, so you should see a whole bunch of brown, gray boxes here. One of the things that Kaplan does is we specifically go through and break down how often each subtopic is tested. And had you seen this, you would be able to see that while criminal law and procedure is almost always tested, it's actually only homicide and crimes that's most likely going to be tested, right? So in those last few days when you're studying for the bar exam, if you know that homicide and crimes has been tested for the past 18 of 22 bar exams, and that constitutional protections has almost never been tested, you're likely going to want to study homicide, right? And only Kaplan has literally gone through the past 22 years of essays, broken them down not just by subject, but by subtopic, and made that information available to you. We, of course, have academic support, so if your question doesn't get answered during class, all you have to do is come to our Ask an Expert page. You can submit your question. I don't know about you guys, but I was that girl in law school. And I always asked questions because I felt like I was paying a lot of money. You don't have to worry about whether or not you're in class with that girl, because we give you the benefit. If we notice that a lot of students from Washington and Lee, across Virginia, or across the country are asking about a specific subject, we are then going to post for you in real time both that question and the answers, right? So you're always going to have the benefit of the questions that other people are asking.
1 minute.
Thank you. There is no magic bullet to bar review, okay? Except for you. The number one determining factor of whether or not you're going to pass the bar exam is whether or not you do the work. What I'm going to tell you is that Kaplan is going to give you the most efficient, effective, supportive environment so that you're setting yourself up for success. My students have my cell phone number, both personal and work, my email address, both personal and work. I know who's getting married. I know who's going for a 2-week trip to Tanzania so that they can download their lectures ahead of time, go on the trip and still stay on track. If you're looking for somebody that is just going to extend themselves out as much as possible, Kaplan, there's no course more committed or more capable. So it'd be a privilege and pleasure to have you study with us. We've got lots of great deals. Lots of you guys have locked in earlier. Currently, we have our $500 rebate. So if you're interested, come stop by our table. We'd love to have you study with us. Oh, I left the mouse up there, sorry.
Oh, yes, sure.
Let's avoid any Marco Rubio moments.
Would it?
No, pardon me, sir.
We're on the desktop. That's on the desktop.
I gave the dean the drive.
It's already
Sorry.
on.
So it's on. It's in that drive.
Okay.
It's the PowerPoint presentation at the bottom of the list. You scroll down.
All right. This is-
Washington Lee presentation PowerPoint. Press F5, please.
Okay.
And let me know when time starts.
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
Your Honors, and may it please the Court. My name is Lou Olowski. I'll be representing the petitioner, Themis Bar Review. I sat for the bar exam for the first time in 2011, and using Themis, I passed the Illinois bar, which is where I'm from, Chicago. In 2012, I passed the New York bar. Since graduating in 2011, I've been working for Themis as a director, doing much what you've seen my counterparts up here doing. And it's become a pleasure to help so many students pass the bar exam. And today I'll explain to you how it is exactly that I do that. First, let's start with a little homage to the patron saint of the free market, Milton Friedman, who would agree with the statement that smart people comparison shop. No matter which bar review course you choose, you're making the right decision if it's the product of comparing the bar review courses to one another. You've heard Kaplan articulate some really cool features, such as, for instance, customizable quizzes. You've heard BarBri articulate its AMP system of questioning you, which is a really cool feature. And you'll hear Themis articulating some cool features as well. Pick your favorite set of features, pick the set that you think is the most credit-worthy, and go with that course. And put in the work, and you'll pass the bar exam. I personally have no financial interest in any of you choosing Themis. I would love for you guys to choose Themis so that I could one day say I helped Supreme Court Justice or Solicitor General pass the bar exam, right? So I could take credit for your future success. But other than that, I trust your judgment when it comes to bar review. So without further ado, let's start with why you should take Themis. Number one reason I think you should take Themis is because of our lecture method. Pardon me, I guess that's the number 2 reason. Number 1 reason, as from the slideshow that I created, is that we're the only company that publishes our pass rate in every jurisdiction that we teach. And in every jurisdiction that we teach, and every state since our inception, the pass rate exhibited by Themis students has exceeded the average in every one of those states. Here I just display the 5 most popular jurisdictions. This represents about 75% of students who will sit for a bar exam. Most people tend to take New York, California, Florida, Illinois, Texas. But we teach the Virginia bar exam, the Maryland bar exam, and a whole slew of exams, the pass rates for which you can actually go and see on our website and gauge how, on a jurisdiction-wide basis, students tend to do when they rely on Themis to take the bar exam. The frenemy of law students, Socrates, the Socratic method, grilling you in class on what you know about the law. That approach is what's best replicated with the Themis methodology. Because we're the only bar review course that takes what is a 4-hour lecture and divides it into short, manageable chapters of 20 to 25 minutes each, which are each punctuated at the end with a little pop quiz of assessment questions. The reason we do this is because it works. Research in pedagogy shows that the most reliable way for a person to learn something is to be assessed upon it, not to sit in a lecture hall and take notes off of a 4-hour DVD presentation or web streaming presentation, but to have integrated assessment. That's what we provide. The second advantage offered by Themis is in our essay grading. Everybody knows that a good editor-in-chief, copy editor, you may recognize this actor from the Spider-Man franchise, though they do not in any way endorse Themis Bar Review, is key to you becoming a good writer. You're only as good of a writer as you have a good editor. And so Themis is the only company that will assign an attorney to you as your personal attorney advisor to grade all of the essays that we assign to you on a weekly basis for grading, which you can also request extras. But this person will have knowledge of your previous essay submissions, and therefore they're able to give you constructive criticism based on your own exhibited strengths and weaknesses as a writer. What other courses will offer is, at a minimum, what we offer too, namely the comparison to rubrics, the big bank of essays that you can browse through when you're supposed to do your self-graded essays. But no other company offers this level of personal feedback. Typically, to the extent you may get your essays graded by another person, they'll be graded anonymously by someone who doesn't have knowledge of your prior essay submissions and doesn't have a personal rapport with you. Naturally, when you're not submitting essays to your personal attorney advisor, who does not necessarily look like this gentleman, you can still correspond with that person to ask questions and get that kind of personalized feedback that you need in order to achieve the maximum improvement in your essay writing performance over the course of the summer that you're studying for the bar exam. So our personal attorney advisors are key to our teaching method. Themis, in another way, is like the NSA of bar review. We have multiple levels of oversight over you as you go through the bar review course. Pardon me for hesitating. It's because I was trying to count in my mind how many ways we observe and monitor your progress. And it breaks down to 4 general categories of progress. First and foremost is our directed study syllabus. Every day that you log on, you're presented with a very specific list of tasks for you to complete. Watch these chapters of the lecture series, do this essay question, do these sets of MBE questions, read this outline, and so on. As you do those tasks, we know exactly down to which essay question, down to which multiple choice question, down to which minutes of the lectures you've viewed, and so we are keenly aware of your progress. And we make you aware of your own progress by translating your performance into a progress meter that gives you a percentage completion rate that's updated constantly as you go through the course and lets you know exactly where you stand in relation to the study calendar. Every day at midnight, the mainframe updates what you've completed based on the past 24 hours and regenerates the new syllabus for you. So every student's syllabus, every student's list of tasks that they see each day is unique to that student, save for the hypothetical twins who do exactly everything the same every single day. That's one level of oversight. The other level of oversight is, of course, your personal bar advisor. The attorney I mentioned who grades your essays, who can correspond with you on that, who will be checking in with you if you manage to not submit essays, because they only get paid if they grade your essays. Right? So we set up a financial incentive to make sure that you actually do get the kind of feedback that you need in order to improve. It is not always the case with a bar review company that the person who might grade your essay cares whether you submit it or not, especially if they're paid a salary. The other level of oversight is me and my colleague Scott Barlow. Give us a hand, Scott, who represents Themis here at Washington and Lee. Sorry, I was about to say William and Mary. Pardon me. Anyway, we give you our cell phone numbers. We are assigned by the company to monitor your progress. So if we see anybody slacking off, it raises a red flag, and we get on that person and we make sure that that person is studying. Even if you meet every single task you're expected to do during the summer, you'll still get occasional check-in calls from us to make sure that there's nothing going on, that you don't have any latent questions that you haven't yet asked. And indeed, 90% of what I do during the summer is advising students on their study strategies. Students tend to freak out about the bar exam. There's always that question in the back of their minds, am I doing enough? Right? Of course you are. If you're following the syllabus, you are doing enough. But students need that reassurance, and Scott and I are here basically all day, every day, since we're not visiting law schools in the summer, to provide that assurance to you and to answer your questions and to coach you through the bar review course. I challenge any other company to provide that level of access and reliability to its students. Finally, with Themis, you also get the latent resource of our support lines and the support email system for you to ask any substantive questions about anything that could come up. And just as my counterpart was that girl, when I used the Themis course, I was that guy, asking the strangest little hypotheticals and then being humbled, but also grateful, when Themis would come back and explain to me why I got it or didn't get it, or what exactly the source of my confusion was, at any point when I reached confusion. In my case, that was property. Property has always been a hard part. Criminal law, on the other hand, I've always thought to be a piece of cake. But as I was saying, it's a comprehensive system that monitors everything you do and reacts to that. Why? Well, we publish our pass rates, right? We don't want to embarrass ourselves by letting students fail and then looking bad next year when we republish pass rates that, heaven forbid, drop below the state average, which has not happened yet, thank goodness. And again, I owe it to the incentives that we set up for ourselves within our teaching system to make sure that you actually do pass. The big question. It's all about the Benjamins. Well, Themis knows that, and so Themis charges the most aggressively low price of any bar review course. Starting at the top, we offer a technology package for $2,095. With some other companies, you may pay $4,000 for a bare bones course that doesn't offer what I described. With Themis' technology package, the price is $2,095, and it includes the latest iPad. This is especially attractive to students with third-party payers, for instance, mom and dad or anybody else who is footing the bill for bar review. You can clearly make the argument to them that it makes more sense for them to pay Themis $2,000 for you to pass the bar and have an iPad than for them to pay $4,000 to another company. Whoops. $1,595 is our regular price, discountable if you're a member of our partner organizations like National Balsa or Phi Alpha Delta, and $1,095, so basically 75% less than what other companies may charge, is our public interest price, which we grant for students who are pursuing careers in the public interest, right? Nobody has a job offer. We know that. As was acknowledged earlier, it's a tough economy. But if you can show us a resume that you are a credible candidate for jobs in the public interest, you likely will qualify for the public interest discount. Debating whether to share a fact. Yeah, what the heck, I will. Nobody has to pay any more than these prices for bar review, okay? If you want to use BarBri or if you want to use Kaplan, you will not pay more than what Themis is charging. Those companies want your business. They need your business as much as we do. If you tell them that you are going to use Themis at this price, unless they match it or beat it, then they'll match it and beat it. As I think was acknowledged earlier when my counterpart from BarBri said that they'll work with you, right? Price is not going to be an object, as you may recall from the first presentation. So keep that in mind. Don't let yourself pay more than you have to for the bar exam, regardless of which course you choose to use. Focus on the service offered by the bar review course, and go with the course that you think offers the best service package. And so I'll just show you guys what the user interface at Themis might look like. This is based on our MPRE review, which is completely free. If you haven't taken the MPRE yet, especially if you're sitting for the November MPRE, sign up for our MPRE review. You'll get a book that covers everything that might appear on the multi-state professional responsibility exam. You'll have our MPRE course, and then you'll be able to make an informed decision about whether or not you should use Themis for bar prep. That's why we offer the MPRE review. By the way, we also offer free online resources like this in a lot of upper-level courses, such as wills and trusts, corporations, criminal procedure, constitutional law, and evidence. So there's a lot of ways you can try Themis before you buy it. And you should not buy Themis unless you like it after having tried it. But anyway, this is what the homepage would look like in the MPRE review. Lectures, outlines, milestones, exams, and MPRE practice questions. If I navigate to lectures, I get a menu of lecture chapters that I can watch. I can see the brilliant and humorous Professor Yakum lecture on various subjects that will get tested on the multi-state professional responsibility exam. After each short chapter, I get the battery of practice questions that, as I said earlier, gives you that interactive experience that makes it more likely you'll retain the information you're learning. And after that, I can then navigate to the menu I just showed you and look at the outlines, right? This is our online outline as you see it through the web browser. You can also access it through Kindle or other devices. You can use Themis through your smartphone, through your iPad that you may get if you buy the technology package. And if you're using our online version of the outlines, then you can mark it up, you can highlight it, you can leave notes in the margins, you can do anything your heart desires with the content of this. And if you go and disseminate it to the broader public that hasn't paid for Themis tuition, I'm going to turn a blind eye. But of course, you'll get everything that we offer in our outlines printed in books to saddle you with during the bar review course. So rest assured, you will also have the physical pages that I personally prefer to read from. If I were to navigate back to the home page and then go to a practice question, this is what it would look like. Our default method of teaching practice questions combines the best of review and test conditions. What I mean by that is that while you are deliberating the answer to your question, the clock is ticking based on the ratio of 1.8 minutes per question if you are sitting for the bar exam to a total time that will tell you whether you've exceeded or not the time that you would have had if you were sitting for the actual bar exam. So you'll get the timing experience. But when you pick your choice, in Themis, just as on the bar exam, you'll only get to choose one, the clock stops. And you're instantly given feedback on whether you answered the question correctly or not. And thus you learn whether your reasoning was accurate, whether it got you to the right choice, whether you got to the right choice for a mistaken reason, as was earlier mentioned, BarBri AMP tries to account for. And then, of course, when you go on to the next question, the clock resumes. And so even though you're getting this feedback during the test, you're still climatizing, if that's the right verb, to the actual test conditions and the actual time limits that you'll have on the day of the bar exam. And by the way, we do offer a full bar exam during the summer as we prep for students. You'll have an MBE day where you can show up to a lecture hall like this one and take a practice MBE. And then you will have an essay day when you do a series of essays that get graded for you during the bar review course. I may have to double check that last bit about whether they get graded to you right away. or at all. They could be self-graded. But as I mentioned earlier, you get a plethora of essays graded by your personal attorney advisor. So please visit our website, themisbar.com, like our Facebook page, and otherwise know that Themis Bar Review loves Washington and Lee Law School.
Come to the floor, see if you can ask questions. I'm sure there are a few. Good.
Let me put the books back in their honorable place.
Sure.
Counsel?
If you want to grab a seat.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, thanks. All right. So any questions for any of our presenters? Yeah, Kelsey.
I have a question for Kaplan. You mentioned before that you could rewind like the online one 30 seconds. Does that mean you can't rewatch it after the first time you watched it?
No, forgive me if I misspoke. No, so you can rewind it for 30 seconds just so you don't have to worry. You know when you're on YouTube and you want to rewind for 20 seconds and you end up going 48 and then you don't. So this just allows you to have an automatic 30-second rewind. But all of our students, regardless of whether or not they're on demand or watching our live streaming lectures in class, have 24/7 access, unlimited access. I wouldn't recommend, right? You've got a lot of information to get through, but you can rewatch anytime.
Same thing with BarBri, unlimited access to online lectures.
Go ahead.
Same thing with Themis, unlimited access to online lectures. We also have the increased playback speed, and you can also choose which spot in the lecture to revisit if you, for instance, zone out for a second. But since our lectures are 25 minutes long, it's particularly easy to find the exact spot compared to, for instance, a longer lecture where you might have more difficulty finding the exact second that you want to go back to.
Other questions? Yeah, Terrence.
Ms. BarBri, in regards to studying for the MPRE, is technology also available?
It actually, I don't know if it's out yet, but it will be. Are you taking the November one or March?
Sometime in the spring.
It will be available for that, yes. And our MPRE course is also free, so as I think are both Kaplan's and Themis's, so that using the MPRE class is a really good tool to get to experience what a BarBri course is going to be like and get your hands on the material to feel it and work through it. And I think that's a really good tool to use when you're comparing the products.
I think we would all likely encourage you. They're all free. So take advantage of all of them and compare. Because it's so easy for us to say things that sound the same. It's only until you actually use it that you see the demonstrable difference about what you're offered. So I think we would agree that really if it's a free resource, take advantage of it. Be an educated consumer, and you're going to come out on top either way.
If I may add, if you've paid a deposit to any bar review company, the policies among bar review companies is that they credit that deposit if you decide to switch. So you won't lose your so-called non-refundable money if you switch companies, because that will translate into a discount at the company you're switching to.
Other questions? Yeah, James.
I was here over the summer, and I know that, well, obviously not reviewing to the bar, but certain classrooms were reserved for like Virginia BarBri or Kaplan. Those were just recorded lectures that were going on. There's no live.
Yeah, we have no live lectures.
No
here.
live classes.
Not with the person standing.
Yeah.
We will not have a living, breathing professor. Last year, they were watching DVD lectures. I'm speaking on behalf of Kaplan.
Right.
I don't. Last year, they were watching DVD lectures, and in fact, they were the same lectures that you had access to online. One of the things that we know, right, is that when students do the work, they pass the bar. One of the ways that students are more likely to do the work is if they come to class. It keeps them on schedule. You can't break for Facebook or your mom calling or Oprah being on TV. One of the ways that we're trying to increase continued attendance is by offering our live lectures in Arlington, and everyone who's in an in-class course will then be streamed in real time. We've piloted that for the past 2 years in Texas and California. We've never had higher teacher ratings. Students are showing up, and their pass rates are reflecting that. So you will not have a living, breathing, but you will have access to those live lectures. Make sense?
Yeah, it does.
Other questions?
Can I
Yeah, go ahead.
suggest something?
Yeah, sure.
So if you're going with a lecture setting even if it's streamed, naturally you can't stop the lecture to ask the question. But for what it's worth, I do think it's really cool that Kaplan will accept questions that come up during the live streaming lecture, and we'll make some effort to try to answer them after the break. Now, granted, I may be wrong. I think, is this the first year it's like that?
For Virginia, we've done
Right.
it for the past 2 years in Texas. And
Right.
California.
So perhaps, if that interests you, ask some Kaplan alumni on how that worked. I can't speak to that, but I just thought it was really neat when I heard my counterpart describe that.
That's very cool of you, Lou.
Yeah.
Ben?
I think, I don't remember if Kaplan issuing discounts for organizations, but maybe he did it for Themis and for BarBri. In regards to discounts for, I think you both mentioned organizational discounts for public interest discounts. Which one takes precedence, or are you able to get both?
It doesn't. At BarBri, we look at every student individually. We want to make sure we can meet where we need to be. Every student's circumstances are different. So if you're worried about the financial burden of taking the course, come talk to myself, come talk to Brooke, who's here on a regular basis, or one of our reps, and they'll put you in the right direction. Again, we view BarBri as a personal experience, just like everybody's financial situation is very personal.
So I'll answer in which we do PALSA, law review. I mean, the list goes on and on. Here's basically what I tell my students. There's a price below which I'm not allowed to go on all of my courses, and that's what I enroll my students at. So I get that there is definitely one-on-one situation, but we all deserve the best deal on our bar course. So again, I think just come and talk to us. But generally, I imagine it's the same way with most. The earlier you enroll in the year, or if you lock in, that is to your benefit, because my ability, my floor increases, right? The amount of discounts that I can give you in March is smaller than the amount of discounts that I can give you now. But we just generally, there's no reason why you should pay $2,500 for a course when somebody next to you is paying $2,000. So we just get everybody in. I just give everybody the floor.
So I think those points make obvious business sense, and they're common to Themis, probably to BarBri. One caveat that I would add, though, is if you want to keep your options open, consider the amount that you're paying non-refundably. So, for instance, if you pay a company, let's say $500 non-refundable money to guarantee your price, you're less likely to then get such a high non-refundable deposit credited against another company's decision, another company's tuition, if later in the year you do decide to switch. But at the standard non-refundable deposit range that the BarBri companies have charged, $50, $250, within that range you can generally get that credited to another company's course if you want to switch. And again, it depends on what that company's bottom line is, right? I'm not going to speculate as to other companies' strategies, but I personally, as an administrator at Themis, pride myself on not going too far below what we advertise. I take a lot of pride in our price point, and I want to avoid the so-called race to the bottom, right? Because then my boss is mad at me when we're less profitable. That being said, my counterpart Scott perhaps would be more willing to exercise discretion. So just like an unruly child playing his parents against one another, feel free to do that within bar review companies or against bar review companies. But just be aware of how much you pay non-refundably. Just be conscious of it.
I'd just like to add something, and I'm probably the old lady here. I've been admitted to the bar for 20 years, and I've been doing bar review for 19 of those 20. You guys all picked Washington and Lee because it's a good school. Most people go to the best school that they can get into. You look at the quality of the education you're getting and what that education is giving you. You probably didn't say, wow, Washington Lee is an expensive school, so I'm going to go to this other school who probably a lot of you guys got full rides to a lot of lower tiered schools. I view bar review as this is an important time. You spent a lot of money on 3 years of education, and you spent it because you want to be successful in your career. For your bar review course, this is the end of that 3-year process. You want to choose the course that fits you best, look at the materials, pick the course with the product that you want, and take finances off the table. So I think when you're evaluating the courses, you really need to look at the product, look to see if it fits you, look to see if it fits your needs, and it's going to get you what you want, which is passing the bar the first time. Once you've made that decision, you go to the company, and the company works with you on figuring out how to get you that course. But I would not be picking a BarBri course based solely on price. I would be picking it on what's included in that course and if it fit my needs. Just like you made all the other decisions in your life, where you went to undergrad, where you went to law school. You know, I'm sure you guys got full rides at a bunch of fourth-tier schools, and you didn't go there because you knew Washington only was going to be the best education you could get. And that's how I view BarBri. I don't know if Dean Twitty would agree with me or not. But.
All right. Other questions? All right. So all these folks will be out in the moot court lobby if you want to follow up. They'll be there for about 30 minutes or so after this. Thank you for coming. I hope it was educational. I hope it was an opportunity for you to learn about the differences between the bar review companies and more about their products. So please feel free to head out to the moot court lobby, and please thank these people for coming here and taking time out of their busy schedules to join us here in Lexington.